Hello, it's Phillip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers in London. Today I'm looking at a book which has come to us from Law Society Publishing. It's one of their Toolkit series. It's a very important book for the 21st century because of what is happening with the way we do our business today. It deals with cyber security. The book is actually called Cyber Security Toolkit. Excuse me. It has an excellent CD to go with it, and it's been written by Wright. Elizabeth and I talked about this book, and we've given it our title for the review, a particularly important toolkit on the fast-moving need for enhanced cyber security systems. Bit of a mouthful, that, but I mean the basic principle here is that companies are not particularly well organised when it comes to cyber security, frankly, and that's a problem across the board, big or small companies. There's the toolkit. It's a paperback. There's the spine, you can see there. And then there's some detail on the back, and I've quoted from the basic blurb. There's the CD right on the back. The front of the book, there's the front page. And in fact, the toolkit series are there. There's the other bit of the front page. The toolkit series are listed there. Then you've got the basic factual information. And what you have, the way it's structured in different parts, is you've actually got some information and then you've got annexes to go with it. And it says how to use the toolkit, which is very useful. And it sets out various questions you should ask. It talks a little bit about Peter Wright, who he is. He's a leading expert in data protection. Then you've got the various parts. What is cyber risk? Then it goes from there, from the basic information. You see it's paragraph numbered, so you can find things quite quickly. Then after that, you've then got the various annexes at the back of each chapter. Now, right at the end, there's no index, but there is, in fact, a very useful context and links. I'll talk about that in a minute. Not a very big book, by the way. It only runs to 150 pages, roundabout. Now, what do we say about this book? Well, we say the following. Peter Wright has written one of the most important short toolkits from Law Society Publishing, and this is the 6th in the series, in what is a worrying area for many of cyber security, largely, of course, misunderstood, unfortunately, by many professionals even now. So the purpose of the paperback is current cyber security for your firm, and it gives you advice for those engaged in law firm management. And I think the book, therefore, is of very great importance at the moment because of hacking and, of course, breaches. We call them breaches. Users, of course, would include practice managers, partners and directors, and all members of Counsel, in my view, barristers' sets. The area under scrutiny includes cyber security threats and management, and Wright's intention throughout is to make information technology accessible and understandable to readers who don't have such a background. And I know we all have a certain amount of knowledge, but he comes from a very deeply professional part of the IT setup, and therefore he's very well enabled to put forward his comments about where we are at the moment with this problem. And the experienced IT professional, I think, will find the legal and regulatory standards covered specifically in Chapter 5 very helpful to identify appropriate solutions for those who are advising either in-house or supplying such services to law firms of any sort, including barristers' chambers. And we found that the author gives practitioners an excellent feel for the type of structures which they need so that any cyber security risks are well managed and identified in accordance with the principles of good governance for any firm, either legal or non-legal. And the reason for that is because the subject matter is widely misunderstood, as I've said before, with few experts in the field. It's a big problem. I'm talking now about very substantial expertise, not the more general information. It's a problem across many of parts of the public sector. The problem then is one which Wright identifies, in that it's the cyber threats themselves that are continuing to evolve all the time. So there is a need for up to the moment advice with current sources and links set out at the end of the book, right at the end, which I think you will find helpful to keep as up to date as possible. So for the digital world which we now face, firms should, we think, possess clear and rigorous safeguarding policies for such matters as intellectual property, the holding of client data and other legal information as a fundamental part of their business strategy. There's also, of course, the regulatory responsibility. And let me give you an example. Just consider Principle 10 of the Solicitors Regulatory Authority Code, whereby regulated firms have a, quote, a responsibility to protect client money and assets, and cybercrime presents a significant risk to this. That goes without saying, and you can see why this book is fundamentally important. Therefore, cybersecurity has emerged as a central issue for professional indemnity insurers. And firms, of course, are expected to demonstrate what protections they've built against cybercriminals before they are offered cover. Hence the need for this toolkit. And of course, its aim is to cover, and this is the quote here, both the law and its practical application. And it will help ensure that your firm has effective policies and procedures in place to deal with cyber security. And as I've said, I've taken part of this from the basic mission statement of the book. We consider, of course, that this toolkit manual will help your firm by increasing awareness of and be prepared for cyber incidents and the threats they pose, as well as how to prevent and deal with them. And Wright gives excellent professional advice and assistance to help your firm's staff comply with all their information security obligations, which include cyber security. As I've said before, this problem with security is growing at the moment, and I'm afraid we are very, very backward in dealing with it. And of course, as legal professionals ourselves, we have to be aware of it and act as quickly as we can. And while suggesting safeguards for digital information from both external and internal sources and examples of how to deal with issues such as information breaches in the workplace, the detailed annexes which I've shown you, which are on a chapter-to-chapter basis, give precedents and templates which you'll find at the back in the CD-ROM, which is, again, saves a lot of time. Now, these annexes make sure that you meet all current legal and regulatory requirements to protect your personal and client data, covering the main core areas of cybercrime, such as risk audit, mobile telephone policy, email security policy, and IT security checklists, just to name a few. But you can see again the impact that can have on your firm. Finally, the date of the publication is 2016. I'm recording this at the beginning of 2017, but I think you should be aware of the fast-moving changes in cybersecurity and the way we deal with breaches, and therefore you can ensure that you're as up-to-date as possible with managing breaches by, again, looking at the links and keeping as up-to-date as you can. This is the book again. The Toolkit series are really excellent, and I'd like to thank Law Society Publishing very much for producing this information. There's the blurb on the back, some of which I've mentioned. Just opening it, there's Chapter 7, Staff Training, very important area. You can see again the paragraph numbering. This is dealing with the training and assessing what the staff have learnt. And then you've got a checklist, self-assessment checklist and so on. A lot of this, I have to say, like many of the toolkits, is common sense in some respects. But there again, in the busy office world, I think it's very useful to have this sort of publication available. And certainly for the legal profession, I think the Law Society have really come up trumps here. So thank you very much, certainly to Peter Wright and to everybody at the Law Society for producing this excellent information for us. It really does help us with our work. Thank you. Bye-bye.